What's going on, people? What's going on? Welcome to Nightly Notions podcast here on Blackmail TV. I am your host, Franklin, and we are going to get into today's conversation. We're going to be talking about Umar Johnson and Kevin Samuels. Booyah, the war is on. Let's get into it. What's going on, family? Welcome to all of you around the world, wherever you are, whether it's night, day, or morning. I want to send you grace, peace, blessings, grand risings, hotep, peace, shalom, all the rest of it that you want to call yourself, just what I'm saying, or how you want to greet yourself. Blessings to you. Welcome to the Nightly Notions podcast, the podcast for men, the podcast for, let me say it again, men building brotherhood and taking back your purpose, taking back your square, taking back and building back your kingdom, and working together and building with other brothers, other men of like mind. Because in this world, in this time, in this age, we are dealing with a matrix system, a system that is confusing and colluding with the powers that be to confuse the mind of the masses and to make us fall into disrepair, disrepute, and into division with each other, one another. But there are many of us that are standing out here with the torch. There are many of us that are standing out here in the vineyard, in the work, and we are proclaiming and shouting and saying, hey, it's time to stop looking at the social construct that has been fed to us, that are pumped into our brains by the mainstream media, by the social media, by the status quo, the institutions, and by the politicians, and all the rest of those things, those lovely things that may be PC friendly, don't want to get de-channeled now and all the rest of it now. So for all those things that are keeping us at divisions amongst each other, it's incumbent upon us to see through the madness, to see through the haze, to see through the dust, the cloud, the psychedelic haze of confusion, to see the truth. And the reason why I take this route and I've gone through this monologue to give you this explanation and conversation is because there's been a battle going on, and there's been an awareness and an awakening happening on the social media platform, especially in the YouTube space and on other platforms, where there's been awakening amongst men who realize that after years and years and years of getting abused by our own women, by society, by the media, by the powers that be, especially speaking to our black brothers, to our black fathers, to our black sons, especially speaking to you, we've been vilified and ostracized and marginalized and all the eyes you can think of. So this movement on the social media platform has now given a space, and a breath to brothers, to allow them to have an opportunity to speak, to have an opportunity to voice their opinion, to have an opportunity to voice their thoughts, to have it ironed out and hashed out and have debates and discussions about it, so that they too can come to a place of purpose, a place of confidence, a place of standing in their square, knowing that whatever they decide to do going forward, they're able to do with confidence, they're able to do with support. And not only that, but they're able to do it with a clear and sound mind. We say we want building in our community. We say we want leaders in our community, especially looking at the black community. We say we want all these things, but we say these things as if they come in a movie form, because of course we grew up on media, right? But instead of recognizing that the reality of life means that we have to dig deep and do things very differently, and not just say things and wish things and hope for things, but there must be an action that follows that hope. There must be an action that follows that faith, which brings us to the conversation today. There's been an action, and there's been a faith and an action amongst especially the black men in the community of building themselves back up, of after being told for so many years that we are nothing and we are nothing but dogs and we are broke and all the rest of it. Now the brothers are standing up. They're getting more educated. They're getting more entrepreneurship. They're moving themselves into a better position in themselves in life. And there's been a shift. There's been a change. There's been a awakening happening on the social media platform amongst men. And they've created something called the manosphere, where they are able to now speak. Now, there are different levels of that manosphere. There are some men which are upset. There are some men which are happy. There are some men which are in between. But you cannot deny that there's a space. And as a space for men, I would encourage all men, young, old, and in between, to find your space within that sphere, to find your voice within that sphere, to find your community within that sphere, so that you too can grow and improve. Why? Because the fundamental thing of life is to what? Have family, have community, have growth, fellowship. We're sociable creatures. We're not meant to be alone. But this social construct teaches that. So in this conversation, it's very important because you have on one side Kevin Samuels, who says that he is trying to rebuild back positive outcomes for men and dealing with the construct of relationship in this aspect. Now, he spent years dealing with the men. It just so happens that now he's dealing with the women, and that's blown up. And on the left-hand side, we have none other than our homeboy, the Prince of Pan-Africanism, Umar Johnson, who has been in the limelight for quite a while. You see what I'm saying? He's not someone to be ignored or someone to be laughed at or scoffed at. The brother's put in work. So what's really transpired and what's really happened? We're going to have a little bit of a conversation today about it. But before we do that, guys, I'm going to get into the video. I'm going to play one little short clip so we can see what really kicked off. And then I'm going to have a little commentary about it, do an analysis, and then I'm going to play another video at the end of it, which I'll leave you to decide at the end of that video. So you can leave your comments down below. Leave your likes, thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever the case may be. I just want your opinion because it's a platform. We want to be able to talk. We want to be able to share. So let me play the first video. Before I do that, guys, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to share. And of course, it takes 1 second. Hit that thumbs up right below the video. Let me play the first video.
Big Papa's in the house. Run my donations. I mean, shout out to Umar. I got no problem with the dude, but I think it's funny y'all keep coming over here asking everybody to talk like Umar.
Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like.
You mean Dr. Umar Johnson, the man who has 2 children by 2 different women that he never married? Dr. Umar Johnson, the guy that for the last 10 years has not built brick one of a school he's collected money from. Dr. Umar, hold on, ma'am. Dr. Umar Johnson, the man who calls you queen, mother, goddess, and all this other kind of stuff. And again, for those who are keeping score, this is another woman who comes on and says, talk to us more like Umar. The Prince of Pan-Africanism. Big Papa's in the house. Run my donations. I mean, shout out to Umar. I got no problem with the dude, but I think it's funny y'all keep coming over here asking everybody to talk like Umar.
Black women, I count about a dozen. I'm going to call them the dirty dozen of division. The triple D, the dirty dozen of division. There's about 12 members of the dirty dozen of division, 12 beta males, YouTube life coaches, who are trying to build a platform by making black women feel bad. I don't like it. I can't appreciate black men trying to make a dollar off of making black women feel bad. And unfortunately, our black women, some of them are so thirsty for validation that they're participating. They're participating in the attacks and slander against the black female community, and that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable.
Well, there you have it. There you have it. That was the first video.
I've been getting questions.
There's the second video. So before I play that second video, guys, just want to have a bit of a conversation with the family. You know, like I said before, you know, apologies for not being on the camera today, guys. the missus was filming, and we still got some stuff around the set to clear up. So I thought, you know what, let me just get on and do this podcast real quick, and then we can sort out the room another time. So anyway, let me get into the conversation. Umar Johnson, the Prince of Pan-Africanism, has been around in the Pan-African community for quite a long time. I myself have to admit that I was once part of the Hotep Pan-African community. You know what I'm saying? I was definitely down with that whole Egyptology mindset about, you know, we were kings and queens and all of that. But, and I put a but here. You know, I put a but here. So on one hand, you've got Kevin Samuels, who's come up from the corporate sales and marketing and the, you know, image consultant, currently a millionaire, entrepreneur, YouTube content creator, right? On the other hand, you've got Prince of Pan-Africanism, Umar Johnson, building the Pan-African community, you know, deals with the ancestors and the worshiping of the ancestors, dealing with upholding the black woman. And he's been building a school, parentheses, inverted commas, building a school, and that's been his mission, as well as being a professional psychiatrist helping children, you know, within his schools. He's also an educator, he's a teacher, he's a mentor, very, very, very intelligent brother, very good orator. You know, almost has that preacher-like presence when he's able to speak and able to, you know, invigorate and captivate people. And he has been doing so for many, many years. So big respect to Umar Johnson on that respect, on that front. However, we're dealing in the time of outcomes right now, right? We're dealing in the time of building. We're dealing in the time of, you know, restoring and bringing ourselves back. So Kevin Samuels has now put out that challenge and said to him, listen, he's having these conversations and bringing outcomes to change the situations and relationships in the black community. And he's trying to raise the standard of black men in general, but predominantly in the black community, to stand up and be in your square and be in your purpose. And not only that, but while you do that, you need to find a partner. You need to find a helpmeet. You need to find a woman that's going to be of a wife, of substance, that's going to have character. A wife that's going to be able to build with you, that's going to be able to nurture you, that's going to be able to help you. And what you're finding is when Kevin is having this conversation with all these women that's coming on these platforms, is that they are not wife material. Why? Because majority of them have this modern mindset, this feminist ideology 4.0 in their mind. It's not because the women themselves are bad women. It's because they've been taught something that's contrary to the conducive and positive outcomes of relationships. This is the problem. And this is what people are not seeing, because they're too busy caught up in the drama, in the conversation. Well, we don't want to do the drama. We don't want to do the low-level IQ conversations. Let's raise the bar. Let's raise the conversation. Because now a wound has been opened. The Band-Aid has been pulled off, and you cannot, you've got an open gash, and you're trying to put a Band-Aid on it. No, we ripped it. Kevin has ripped it off now. Now you have to deal with the sore. You have to deal with the wound. And what happened here, what I think, is the women who are calling into Kevin Samuels' show, who support Umar Johnson, have had an issue with the way Kevin Samuels has been speaking and addressing these women he's been having conversations with. Big shout out to BLKMailTV family in the chat. Much love to all of you. So he's been having conversations with these women, and there's been a predominant issue, that's been a complaint that's been going on, talking about his tone. And this woman called in, the short video I just played that we just watched. She called in and said to Kevin, you should talk more like Umar Johnson, which is why you got this response from Kevin Samuels when she said,
Big Papa's in the house. Run my donations. I mean, shout out to Umar. I ain't got no problem with the dude, but I think it's funny y'all keep coming over here asking everybody to talk like Umar.
That's why you got that video, right? So Kevin wasn't much too impressed about the fact that women were asking him to talk like Umar Johnson, because, again, Umar is in a different field. From a man's point of view and from a Pan-Africanist point of view, someone who used to be in that field and used to, you know, deal with that ideology, he does pander to one side, predominantly the feminine side, than he does to dealing with just truth when it comes to relationships of men and women. When it comes to the information, the facts, and who's doing what in the community and our oppressor, he's on point with that. But when it came now to a point that we are in a community ahead where black men are saying that, hey, they're not getting the response that they're looking for in black women, modern black women. Modern women are saying that they don't even want to be married. So now we have an impasse because there's men who are looking for relationships and not getting any, and women who are saying they don't want relationships but are having a hypergamous mindset and looking for the top tier men. There's a disconnect within the relationships, and we're reaching a critical mass point where there's a breakdown in the society. And this is what Kevin is addressing. But in the woman's response to telling him to speak more like Umar Johnson, that's an ad hominem attack because she's not really dealing with the content and the argument that Kevin is bringing forth, but she's more using ad hominem to attack how he's saying it. And in doing that is distracting from the conversation, from the truth. Because we talk about LSG, we talk about accountability, right? We talk about, in order to build our community and build ourselves back, we have to talk the truth. And in talking the truth, we must take accountability for the things that we do. And when you have people having ad hominem attacks, an abusive attack against someone making an argument instead of addressing the argument itself, that's what's going on. So Kevin reacted to that. And I have to defend him in that respect because he was right. He did need to defend himself in that because he's not Umar Johnson, and B, Umar Johnson is not Kevin Samuels. No, he shouldn't need to speak like him because the outcomes that he's requiring is not the outcomes that Umar Johnson's requiring. Umar Johnson predominantly has a female support system, back-based system. Kevin Samuels has predominantly a male-based backing system. So again, the viewpoints, perspectives, and outcomes are different. So the question now becomes, and the question I put to the family is, has Umar Johnson fallen on his sword? Because now, in the age of accountability, where men are saying that women are not taking accountability for their actions and their bad behavior, Umar Johnson has now come out and said what? That there are, you said YouTubian opportunists, life coaches on YouTube telling people how to live, how to deal with their life and how to do certain things, but he's not holding to account the people that need to be held to account for the bad behavior. And he's a professional. He's a professional. So if the professionals within the community are using the people for money and not trying to heal the people, to build back the community, what hope do we have for those of us who are not as prominent, who was not as outreaching, who are not as, has a wider audience, who do not have the fan base or the community base? What hope do we have when you have those who are ahead of us and who are seen as meant to be higher up than us in this walk, using the people who they're supposed to be helping to help themselves and further themselves? Because the question everybody's asking is, where's this school? It's not the first time he's done it. It's not the first time he's mentioned it. He's been saying it for years, but it hasn't manifested itself yet. And here comes Kevin on the scene talking about building back relationships, and he has made such an impact that it's rocked the whole YouTube sphere. Not just the YouTube social media, but it's actually seeping almost into mainstream media now. They're trying to keep it at bay. But the fact that Umar Johnson is now having to respond and retort to Kevin Samuels, the fact that Kevin Samuels' name is on the lips of many people around the world, especially in the Western world, dealing with relationships, it's evident and clear that he's right in what he's saying. Not only because he's saying it, but because there have been others that have said it before him. Shahrazad Ali, big shout out to her. Big shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson. Big shout out to MTR, Mediocre Tutorial Reviews. Big shout out to Man of Faith Highlights. These different people have been highlighting and showing all these different things. Poor Man's Podcast. Lapeef. Big shout out to all those people. because we need to have the real conversations. And in the real conversation, we have to accept the reality of what is going on and then make changes if we want to survive what is coming. And make no mistake, there is a change in the social order that is coming. I think this is a pivotal changing point for Umar Johnson in respect to his male followership, in respect to his respectability in being seen in the eyes of his male counterparts and brothers in the community. Because he shouldn't have responded to what Kevin said in the first place, because he should have been a bigger man than that. But now that he has responded to that, he stirred up a hornet's nest. And for me, y'all need to go watch the rest of the video. Go see on his Twitter, on his IG. And really, before you go do that, I'm gonna play this video by Mediocre Tutorial Reviews. Big shout out to him. Yeah, because he would have done what I was gonna do. Just what I'm saying. He's literally diced it up. So I'm gonna play the video. I'm gonna let you guys watch it, and then you guys leave your comments down below. Leave your conversations of what you're gonna say about it. And I'll get back to your comments, and I'll enjoy reading your comments, you know? But don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Enjoy.
About these black male life coaches, these uncredentialed, uncertified, untrained, YouTubian black male life coaches. I'm not here to knock nobody. I'm disappointed in a lot of my sisters. I am disappointed in a lot of black women because I thought that our sisterhood was evolving to a place that would not tolerate I thought black sisterhood was evolving to a place that would not tolerate slander and degradation of black women on any level for any reason. I thought, black sisters, that you guys were getting to a place, you sisters, you queens, my beautiful black goddesses, I thought you all were evolving to a place where you would not approve of Eurocentric slander and degradation and debasement and undue attacks on your integrity as a black woman. But I'm seeing black women, out of their thirst for male validation, entertain some of these Negroes who have no history of organizing in the black community.
Back in 2013, I interviewed you when I worked with Madame Noir. Okay. And we had, a viral moment. We talked about black women and boundaries, and you said we were out of order.
We're still out of order.
Tell us why you say we're still out of order.
I think now because we get paid to be out of order now.
Okay.
Some of the ways that we behave and treat each other publicly.
As black women, we have never been subject to the kind of examination that our men have been subject to since we have been here. We have been somewhat protected and shielded from any kind of critiquing about our personal behavior, whereas our men have always been up for examination.
I want to fully step into my role as an elder and be able to say things that you may not like, but you will at least respect.
I think I've counted 12 different YouTubian beta male wannabe life coaches that are out there slandering black women, attacking black women, degrading black women. I count about a dozen. I'm gonna call them the dirty dozen of division.
Talk to you about this movement. And I talked to you a little bit about it before when we had that interview last year with Sonnetter. Shout out to Sonnetter. Now, the brothers are giving up and they're calling it a movement like men going on their own way, the red pill. Men are calling it the manosphere. They're saying, forget about it. We're done with the Black woman. We're going to tell her to go her way. Have you heard about this movement?
I have heard it a lot, but you have to remember they're dealing with decades of resistance and hostility and having their money taken and not being able to have a proper meal to even eat. And if any sister is looking for a man, she need to go to the grocery store around 5 or 6 o'clock because they all in line. They all lined up trying to get a plate of food for $10.
Wow, that's right. That's
and
right.
I tell the sisters, if you start cooking, he'll come by your house. He'll show up and he'll sit there a while. Okay? As it stands now, a man can't even ask a woman, can she cook? That's a turnoff, and she'll get rid of him if he say, hey, baby, can you cook? That's the end of that.
I can't appreciate Black men trying to make a dollar off of making Black women feel bad. And unfortunately, our Black women, some of them are so thirsty for validation that they're participating in the attacks and slander against the Black female community, and that's not acceptable. Even for amusement, the Black woman should never subject herself to another man's condemnation. And what makes the...
You see, I've got to pause it right there. I'm going to have to pause it right there, family, because the devil come not but to lie, to steal, and to kill. And one of his mechanisms and one of his mindset, one of his premise is to use deny, discredit, and destroy. Now, this brother is meant to be for the Black family, not just for Black women. That's what he's supposed to be, for the Black family, right? Even though his support base is predominantly Black women, he's a psychiatrist. He's supposed to be he talks about behavioral problems and recognizes the behavioral problems in children. So he, more than anybody else, should be more aware of the psychological breakdown that's happening amongst men and women, how that stems from childhood, motherhood, lack of fatherhoods around, and the inability of our community to allow the men to play their role, instilling moral standards and boundaries, and have the women play their role as in and passing on the culture, which include those moral standards and boundaries. He should know that more than anybody else. But yet he's using the tactic of the enemy: deny, discredit, and destroy. He's doing that to Kevin Samuels, and now he's attacking the women that call into the show, who are genuinely seeking help or genuinely seeking to challenge him. Either way, there is information and knowledge being expressed in that, because those who were brought up away and weren't told about this now have an avenue to learn, now have an avenue to change course, to repent, as they say in the church. Repent. It means to change. And the reason why I defended Kevin Samuels is because I see with my own eyes, and I'm not a psychiatrist, that there is a breakdown with the social structure within our community. And he's a psychiatrist. He should see that. But he chooses not to address that. Instead, he does what? Deny, discredit, and destroy. Let's keep going. I just wanted to point that out.
The condemnation so ridiculous for me, it's mostly superficial. Most of the assessment is superficial, brothers.
Okay, now I've heard this. I've got to interject again. I've heard this statement being said multiple times, that the standards or requirements that are being said in these conversations are superficial. That's very disingenuous. That's an outright lie, especially coming from someone like him, who's a psychiatrist. Let me remind you. You cannot tell men that what they desire sexually and in attractiveness for a mate and a life partner is shallow. Men are visual. So we look at the visual aspects of a woman first before getting to know the rest of her. What he's saying by this statement is saying that is shallow and that we should remove that. By the same token, should we then remove the fact that women would like a man that's able to provide for them? Isn't that shallow? Isn't that gold digging? This is what I'm saying. Social constructs that we have bought into have fed us lies that go against the culture of who we are as a people. If Caucasians want to do that, Asians want to do that, East Indians want to do that, that's their business. That's their culture. But for us as a community, as a people who are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, we keep adopting other people's ways of being instead of going back to our own. Instead of going back to our own, we don't know history. And because we don't know history, we keep repeating the same mistakes. And he's saying that men should remove their biological imperative of assessing a woman by her fertility, his attractiveness, and that's being shallow. As a psychiatrist, you're putting down these. Remember, he's a psychiatrist talking about men, but boys become men, and these things are being said over the airways, over children's heads, over these young boys' heads, effeminizing them, demasculating them, and then they become men. And then we turn around and say, "Well, why aren't the men leading? Where are all those good men?" Do we not see the correlation? Let's continue.
And sisters, it's superficial. You weigh too much. You don't have the right body type. You don't have enough education. You don't make enough money. This is European standards. This isn't African. That's not who we are.
Women.
Okay, so he said that is African. That's not who we are. Again, that's disingenuous, because if you look at different African tribes, they all have a standard of beauty. And their standard of beauty is all to do with the appearance. You have Maasai tribes, and you have to, let me say Maasai tribes. You have tribes in Africa, in East Africa, that wear chains, that put plates in their lip, plates in their ears. Is that an inward adornment of beauty, or is that an outward adornment of beauty? Where I come from in Africa, we have beads, waist beads, certain fashionable clothes that women wear. Now, granted, there are some cultures that have preferred big boned women. There are some cultures that have slimmer women. But again, it's not shallow, because it's the construct of the culture and the dynamic of what is socially acceptable from the opposite sex who is buying the product. If we live in a community and a society where being a big woman is reverenced culturally, then that's what happens. If we live in a society where, as you see in some African societies, where slim and tall is actually reverenced, you have that. But to sit there and say that a man's preference in the physical adoration of a woman, because let's be clear now, when you meet someone for the first time, you're not meeting their mouth, you're not meeting their personality, you're seeing them first. Physical attraction is the first thing that is seen in the eye of the beholder. And in that respect, it then entices the person to now continue in the conversation to get to know that person a bit more. So to say that shallow is disingenuous and is not coming from a place of trying to heal and build the rift, because men are saying they're not finding partners. Women are saying they don't want to be married. Where does that leave the social construct of our community? Big shout out to the BLKMailTV family. Some of them joining the conversation. Don't forget to hit the like for everyone just coming into the conversation. Hit that like button before you jump in and jump out. Big shout out to Royal Risings. Big shout out to My Rap Tribe. Big shout out to Kellen Cash. What's going on, bro? Big shout out to you and the family. You know what I'm saying? Much love. Raw Risings, what she says? She says, mad love, BLKMailTV for covering these crucial topics and put me onto Kevin Samuels. I had only seen small clips before you guys' lives. Then I got onto him. Props. He's mostly spot on. Yes, he's mostly spot on. I agree. He's not right in everything. Certain things I disagree with. But again, we have to listen. And this is the problem in our community. We don't like to listen. we don't like to listen. Kellen Cash says, I recommend this book on where many make the mistake. The Emperor's New Clothes, book by Joseph L. Graves Jr. Yeah, guys, get over to Kellen Cash's YouTube and subscribe to his channel, guy. Brother drops a lot of information on there. You know what I'm saying, that I will definitely be sharing with other people when I can get around to it. He's definitely got some merch as well, so definitely go over there and check out his channel. Definitely, much love, brother. Big shout out to the family as well. Royal Rising says, at Man Rap Tribe, I feel the same about Umar Johnson. I think he's in it for the money. This is where I have to be honest with you, family. I was part of the Hotep family thing. I was in that Hotep thing. I used to deal with study under Ashra Kwesi and all those brothers. And when I came out into meet other brothers, it was a thing about, it was a hustle. They were hustling women. They were pandering to women. Just, you know what I'm saying, trying to get in women's knickers. And it was about making money. That was really what it was about. For me personally, in my personal experience. Now, looking on the outside, looking at Umar Johnson, talking about this school that he's going to build and he's supposed to have built for over the last 10 years, I haven't seen the school yet. With the amount of money, now, you know, we talk about Africa, you know, we talk about rebuilding Africa. With the amount of money that he would have received through donations from his predominantly female supporter base, he could have taken that money to Africa and actually built a school several times over. But that's just my opinion. Hey, if Akon can go over there and build a friggin' city, I think it's not going to be a big deal for Umar to build a school. But for me, the problem was it's too much pandering in the Pan-African community, in the Egyptology community, in the Nuwabic community. There is too much pandering. Kellen says, can we stop listening to single people on how to get married? Bro, well, he says, can we stop listening to single people on how to get married? That's a very good point. I would love for you guys to leave a comment in the comment section below and tell me what you think about that. Should single people be able to give married advice? Bear in mind, Kevin Samuels has been married twice, and I think he's been divorced twice as well. Not quite sure about Umar Johnson on that one, so let me not, put it out and say he has. Big shout out to Mr. Uganda trying to jump in the conversation. He says, "Oh, greetings to everyone." He says there is too much pandering in the movements, and I definitely agree with you, bro. I definitely do agree with you. There's too much pandering in the movement. But let me play the video again. Let me see what you guys think of the rest of the video. Big shout out to Mediocre Tutorial Reviews. He's the one that put this video together, and he kind of did the work for me. So I was like, you know what? Hey, big shout out to him. I'll give him all the props for it. But let's play the rest of the video.
Not a necessary conversation to have. And I think it's an overgeneralization as to what Black women actually want.
Well, all he said was, hold on, man, overgeneralization. No, we don't get that one. All he stated was facts.
He stated facts, that there's a lot of ways that you can state facts. To create
but here's one fact. Okay, what does your husband say about this?
What?
What does your husband say about this? Did y'all discuss it?
No, I'm not married. I would not choose. I would not choose to date into something like that. I choose to be single.
Okay.
I'm a PhD.
Okay, congratulations.
I hope everybody heard that. She says, I would not choose to be married. I'm a PhD, even though that had nothing to do with the question. And that's where the infamous I'm a PhD line comes from. That's the conversation that they had. And her response to what does your husband think is, I'm a PhD. I wouldn't choose to be married. Meaning, I'm so intelligent and I'm so educated that I don't need an opinion from my husband. I can give my own opinion. This is a mindset. This is a mindset that was set forth back in the day, about 1960s and so. And it's perpetuated in the media, it's perpetuated with the magazines, perpetuated with the social media, it's perpetuated. Ricky Lakes, Oprah, all the rest of that nonsense. Listen to what she said. Your PhD does not mean that you cannot have an opinion from your husband, because the conversation is about relationships. But she's saying because she has a PhD, or the implication in what she's saying, is because she has a PhD, she doesn't need a reference from her husband. No, the answer would be, I'm not married. That would have been the short of it. I don't have a husband. But let's continue on.
But that was
Thank you.
unnecessary, right?
Nope. Because
No. You just no, ma'am. You just I just asked you about
right?
marriage. So I just asked you about marriage, and you juxtaposed it against your education.
I can't handle female clients. I was a matchmaker that matched females. And I had a few male clients, but predominantly I was matching women. And listen, it was such a valuable lesson for me, because what I learned is that the average woman doesn't really want just a good man. She doesn't want a husband. What she's really wanting are these standards or ideas that she has of what a man is supposed to be. So you're sitting around here like, oh, he's got to be 6 foot and he's got to look like this and he's got to make 6 figures or 7 figures.
Hi, I'm Dr. Tracy Marks, and I make mental health education videos. A delusion is a fixed false belief, and despite evidence that goes against what you believe, you still believe it.
I actually want a 6-figure guy, is what I'm realizing.
Okay, so let me just go ahead and net it out for you. You ready?
Uh-huh.
The guys you want aren't asking you out.
Go into a modeling call, an open call.
Oh, trust me, I know.
So you know what it is. And what you're saying, man, is that people are coming to me. Well, understand, they're coming to my TV, my YouTube show. If they don't want it that way, they could always book a private session with me and do it behind the scenes. But they don't want to pay that money. And what they really want to know is, why am I not getting the kind and caliber of man I want? Because I think I'm here, and I want men that are here, but I'm not getting them. Gordon Ramsay can go and be a multi-millionaire as a chef because he calls you a stupid fucking monkey. But a black man just tells you, hey sis, the man you say you want don't want you to weigh more than him, and all of a sudden you hate women. See, people don't ask Steve Harvey that, who'd been married 3-4 times. He wrote a book telling you what you want to hear, and you make him a multi-millionaire. He had been divorced how many times? But he still said women are from Mars, men from Mars, women are from Venus. You take a comedian's advice. But a man who actually is in it and been doing this since 1989, since Shahrazad Ali, black man's got to be a black woman. Hold on. Since a man who's been over 3 singles ministries at the church and has been married twice, which means I've tried to marry a black woman twice.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Sorry, the system crashed for a second and I didn't know if anybody could hear me or see the video. So I just need anybody in the chat to give me a thumbs up so I know if you can still hear and see the video, because it kind of froze. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes, great. Okay, I apologize for that, family. I'm not quite sure. StreamYard had a bit of a crash and everything froze on my end, so I couldn't tell whether you guys could hear me, see me, or could see the. But I guess it was me that was out of sync of everything else. So let me get us back into the video. Can you see the video as well? Can you just let me know if you can see the screen? If you can see the video, that would be great. Either a yes or a 1 in the chat, whatever. That would be great. Just so I know that you guys can see everything that I'm seeing and that we're both seeing it together. Yes, yay. Here we go. Okay, appreciate that. Bo, appreciate that. Royal Risings. Yeah, okay, let's get back into it. Okay, I'm going to put the link for the chat if anybody wants to have a conversation in a second. And but let's watch some of this video first.
Okay, so let me just go ahead and net it out for you. You ready? The guys you want aren't asking you out. Okay, go into a modeling call, an open call.
Oh, trust me, I know.
So you know what it is, and what you're saying, man, is that people are coming to me. Well, understand, they're coming to my TV, my YouTube show. If they don't want it that way, they could always book a private session with me and do it behind the scenes.
Which is true.
But they don't want to pay that money. What they really want to know is, why am I not getting the kind and caliber of man I want? Because I think I'm here, and I want men that are here, but I'm not getting them. Gordon Ramsay can go on being a multi-millionaire as a chef because he calls you a stupid fucking monkey. But a black man just tells you, hey sis, the man you say you want don't want you to weigh more than him, and all of a sudden you hate women. See, people don't ask Steve Harvey that, who's been married 3-4 times. He wrote a book telling you what you want to hear, and you make him a multi-millionaire. He had been divorced how many times? But he still said women are from Mars, men from Mars, women are from Venus. You take a comedian's advice, but a man who actually is in it and been doing this since 1989, since Shahrazad Ali, black man's got to be a black woman. Hold on. So it's a man who's been over 3 singles ministries at the church and has been married twice, which means I've tried to marry a black woman twice, been a stepfather once, and it didn't work. But I still am helping people get married.
But okay, now on that point, I'm gonna have to give that to Kevin. I'll have to give that to Kevin. He has openly said that he's been married twice. He's not saying he's perfect, and nobody says they are. And anybody that says they are is a liar. So on that, I'll have to give him that point, right? So, you know, he has been married. He knows what the experience is like. He's come out of the experience. It may not have worked, but at least he's able to tell you how to get married. Plus, he's also an image consultant, which, again, works in his favor in regards to first impressions and how to, you know, attract the opposite sex. Also, he comes from a sales and marketing environment, which also works in his favor, because sales, you need to know how to speak, how to engage your customer, and how to get them to buy or close the deal, as well as marketing to sell to that person. Now, I just got a sidebar. Let me just read this real quick. Let me read this comment from Royal Rising. Royal Rising says, Western women have unfortunately not been taught how to be wise, and instead left to get brainwashed by toxic media such as Love and Hip Hop and Basketball Wives. I would fully agree with that. Yes, my sis, that is the case. And this is what I'm trying to get people to understand and trying to get people to recognize. This is why we talk about LSG and breaking down the construct, love plus support equals growth. Having a different construct, different set of principles, a different set of mindset that's going to allow us to rebuild our communities and our families, wherever we are, whether you're in the West or whether you're in the East or whether you're in Africa. We need to deconstruct these Western constructs from ourselves and pick up an original construct, original principles, ones that are conducive to our family structure, not one that's to imitate what we think is right because of what we're given or what we've seen from our oppressor or from the leading superpowers. That's not what we're supposed to be doing as a people. We're supposed to be leading this from the front. That's where we're supposed to be. But let's see what more of what Umar says, right?
We're going to have some sisterhood circles.
I hope that's the school behind it.
Dr. Umar is going to host some sisterhood circles where I can speak power and strength into black women. I'm going to speak power and strength. This is the Frederick Douglass High School you look.
Not to bash my women, because I love my sisters, but he says he's going to speak power and strength into black women. Well, there is a whole movement of body empowerment and women's liberation happening right now. He should be focusing on building the young men so that they can be leaders in the community. Because the men that we have today are a product of a community that didn't have fathers around, that didn't have guidance, that didn't have role models, that didn't have those things around predominantly en masse. I'm not talking about the anecdotal experiences of those here and there. That's a given. But the exception does not dictate the rule. That said, as a psychiatrist who works with children, he's now jumping up on the bandwagon saying, I'm going to build a sisterhood school for sisters. What are you talking about? Your whole following is female-based. You already have a sisterhood. Or is this another attempt to try to get money out of the sisters? When I build my school, I'm going to hold a... Bruh, the sisters are already following you. The sisters are already listening to you. You already have their ear. So instead of throwing shots back and forward, as this is talking about brotherhood and building, this is what this platform is about. He should have been going back and reaching to Kevin Samuels and said, "Hey, bro, I didn't like the way you took the pee out of me on the live, but hey, what's good? How can we do this?" This is how you build. But I let me not get too far. Let's go.
I'm going to speak power and strength into our beautiful African sisters. See, I want you to understand and overstand the same reason you go on these YouTubian beta male so-called life coaching platforms. The same reason you go on these YouTubian beta male so-called life coaching platforms is the same reason you stay in abusive relationships. It's the same reason black women stay in abusive relationships. It's the same reason black women stay. Why do black women stay in a relationship where she's being exploited sexually, emotionally, or financially? Why doesn't the black woman leave? Talk to me, black women. We're talking about the unconscious psychology of abuse of our sisters. We're talking about the unconscious psychology of why black women would rather stay. Because a lot of black women feel that if a man does not validate me, I'm not good enough as a woman. Your mind loves to play tricks on you. That's right. Your mind wants you to think that if you can get one of these YouTubian beta males to validate you publicly, your self-esteem will go up, but it won't. These are the games the unconscious plays on your mind, black woman. These are the games that your unconscious plays on your mind, black woman. Don't let your mind play games on you. Don't let that little girl inside of you who was victimized as a child. Don't let that little girl inside of you that was victimized by your first husband.
And you see, on this occasion, he's playing into, I would agree with Mr. Uganda here. Dr. Umar should have been way too busy building that school to even sink to this. This is what I call low-level IQ conversation. And this is what I'm talking about in the black community. We need to raise the bar of the conversation and stop pandering to this low-level IQ. Again, this is victim Olympics. If we want to talk about victimhood, then last time I checked, it was both the black man and the black woman dealing with our community primarily. It was both the black man and the black woman that was enslaved together. It was both the black man and the black woman that was colonized together. So if there is one side that's thinking we're going to come out of this, as past videos have shown, you want to go back and check those videos. One side has left the table in this conversation. So for him to be saying this about the victimhood of black women, we're talking about accountability now. We're not dealing with victimhood anymore. We've heard the talking. We've heard the pandering. We've heard the queen, mother, goddess, and all that. We should be kings. We used to be this in Africa. We used to be that in Africa. Guess what? There was a whole side of West African kings that is never spoken about. But we always talk about Egypt, right? We always talk about this lovely, airy-fairy time in the past in Africa where things were great and hunky-dory, but we never talk about the realities of what is as a people. Our whole social construct in the West is messed up because we are dealing with it's not even our construct. We're using somebody else's social construct and then saying it's our own, and then we're having problems, as you can clearly see. So I'm not dealing with people that don't want to address the problems because I see what the problems are. It's about accountability so that we can move forward. Love is about growth. Love plus support equals growth. You must apply the love. And in order to do that, love must first cover truth. Let me get some before we go on. Truth, a property of being in accord with a fact or reality. That's what LSG stands for, love. The love component has 3 elements to it: truth, honesty, and accountability. You can't say you love someone if you're not standing in those principles. And we have to relearn new principles going forward. Truth. If I say I love you, I'm standing in truth. I'm standing in the reality of fact. Truth is typically ascribed to things that aim to represent a reality or otherwise correspond to it. Truth is the opposite of falsehood, and we're supposed to be walking in that and standing in that as a people. As an individual, that's where I'm standing. That's where my family's standing. Second principle, honesty. The second principle in the pillar of love is honesty. Because honesty covers what? Honor and integrity. Probity. It means to be upright of character and in action. Do we have that as a people? When we see it in our observable reality, or are we just full of BS? Honesty implies a refusal to lie. That means I choose not to lie. I can, but I choose not to. I choose not to steal. I choose not to deceive in any way if I can help it. It is an active, conscious regard for the standards of one's person, profession, culture, position, whatever you want to call it. We've lost those standards. So when I say the men are supposed to instill moral standards and discipline, this is what I'm talking about, because this is what I instill in my household. This is what I've learned from the ancients, from the scriptures, from the Most High, from our Father. This is what I've learned. This is what I instill in my household. Love plus support equals growth. The first pillar of LSG is love. Under that pillar is three principles: truth, honesty, and accountability. Accountability is the fact of being responsible for what you do and are able to give a satisfactory reason for why you did it. It is a state of being accountable, taking an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's own actions. That's what accountability is. That's the first pillar of love in LSG. That's the first pillar right there. So if we want to talk about building our community and coming back together, well, we've got to stand on new principles, because the principles that we've adopted in our captivity and in our colonialism are wrong. They are not conducive to our social construct of us as a people. Look at the observable evidence with your eyes. Let's keep going. Let me not keep aside. Let's keep going.
Don't let that little girl inside of you that was sexually assaulted or physically assaulted by her mother's boyfriend, don't let the pain of that little girl, don't let the pain of your inner child, black woman, don't let the inner child run your life.
You don't need to be looking for no dude that's making six figures. You need to be looking inside yourself for the part that is still broken from past relationships.
These are who the women are predominantly listening to in our community, right? These are the male they're listening to, right? Let's
that's
see.
Allowing you to get talked to by this dude like you are just a dog. That's the first and foremost thing that you need to do.
Look how they're appealing to your emotion. Look how they're appealing to your enragement. Look at what they're doing, sisters. Brothers, look at what they're doing to your sisters, your mothers, your aunties, your daughters. Look at what they're doing. You need to stand in the square, man.
Remember the type of woman, if you're a woman, remember the type of woman you were on the path to becoming before you got broken. Remember her and take steps towards that. Or else you're going to continue taking steps towards dudes who step all over you for their personal gain.
But the truth,
so he says, and then
is, and I'm saying it here now, is that Derrick Jackson was involved with other women outside the marriage. And by involved, I want to be clear, I'm not talking about just casually kicking it, maybe a lunch or something like that. I'm talking about as serious as sex.
I'm not even going to get into that video. We can review that video another time, right? Because I didn't even jump into that boat. But so you've heard what those two were saying, right? You heard what those two were saying, right? Derrick Jackson, Umar Johnson. They both pandered to your emotion. They both remember when you were hurt. Remember this, the victimhood, the victim Olympics. Look where they took you back to. Now they vilified and insulted the women that called into Kevin Samuel's show. Because Kevin has been standing in his square. He's not budging. He's saying the modern woman mindset has caused the breakdown as we want, excuse me, let me rephrase, excuse me, rewind. He's saying that the modern woman mindset, the feminist movement, has been a catalyst, a pillar, a strong indicator to the breakdown of families, predominantly speaking in the black community because he's black. He's saying that this mindset has predicated so much in the black community that the black woman is a champion of it, and as so much so has stepped away from the table of the black family. That's where he's coming from. That's the grand picture. Now we can pick at the little things in the way he speaks and the arguments and the points of discussion. That's for me, that's clickbait. But the overall truth, the pillar that we're standing in, because yes, I enjoy clickbait just as much as the next person, but I'm still trying to get down to the crux of building my people back up. I've got 2 daughters and a son, and I'm not leaving them in this BS of a system with this BS of a mindset. That means I've got to take my square and do something with my kingdom. And this is the pillars I set up in my kingdom. Kevin is doing it in where he is, because he understands and sees the observable reality of the breakdown of the family structure within our communities. And if you do not see that, please do not come on this platform and have this conversation with me, because then you and I are not in the same realm. You need to go back to the matrix. You need to take your pill. But let's see the conversation now take place live in real time, because I know some people say he pays these women to come on the show. That's asinine. It's clear that's not the case, because when he was doing it with the men, nobody worried about him paying the men to come onto the show back then, right? But this time with the women, he's paying them to come on the show. Ad hominem attacks. But let's see what this woman says herself.
It's like you know how you say like women, like even I was watching the other lady and like they have that, like, you know, they have a man who wants to take care of the household, then they just be like on their high horse, or they have a different mentality, you know, the generational curse. I believe the way everybody's beliefs are like is the opposite of what it's supposed to be. So I've dated like 2 older guys, and I just got out of a relationship with an older guy. He was about to be 40, and it's like amazing. Like their mindset is just like crazy, you know, like he was very manipulative and like emotionally and verbally abusive. And it's like, I know how to, because I've been so independent, like I know I'm like, I got the disease to please. So it's like, I know how to cater to my partner, you know, and do what I need to do on my end, you know, but I've never had anybody like willy-nilly like take care of me, you know.
But let me back up.
Okay.
In your state where you're broken, you're going to attract, it's easier to attract predators. That's why I'm saying you need therapy, because whatever you're...
And let me just interject right there. This is another point. Kevin always says, go to therapy. We need therapy. Now, Umar Johnson is a therapist. You see what's going on? Do you see? He's a therapist. Kevin says, go to therapists. Umar, being a therapist, should see, unless he's saying he doesn't see the social construct and breakdown of the man and woman, the relationships. Even though I'm not even going to say their name, because if I say their name, they might block my channel. But you know, even they see it. I talk about it in the seminars. Royal Rising says, we've got to be careful, as vulnerable people will come and listen and think they found healing tools. Accountability of what we put out as black content creators need to be taken also. I agree. But of course, there are some crazy nut jobs out there who do not hold integrity. This is why I said about the pillars, right? LSG having pillars and morals and standards. Not everybody has that, because we live in a world that doesn't value integrity, doesn't value ethics. So while there are content creators who are putting out work to bring out the word, and remember, this is a space for men, because men need to get built up back again. They've been so downtrodden. So now they're building the space back up. Yes, they can be mindful about the content that they're putting out, but they've got to build it and put out the content first to be able to now regulate the content. This is how anything works. When a new technology comes out, it floods the market, and then they find a way to regulate it so that it doesn't overcome other aspects of the industries. Likewise with this manosphere or manosphere that's coming out. Roy Biden says, I can see how getting more views by any means can creep into people and pull them away from what's right and instead do what get views. But it just became wild, wild west for the information. That I do definitely agree with, sis. I do definitely agree with you, Roy Risings, on that. Bo says he agrees. Yes, we both agree on that. And this is the danger, and this is why we say, like the videos that have content and the content creators are giving you information that's viable to building a community, like the videos, so that more of those get pushed out. We have to support our own community. We all complain there's no black media. Well, those of us that are putting the media out and are working and doing the content, like the video, subscribe to the channel, help support, do your part on the other side, and don't just sit there, be a ninja watcher. Again, there's a reason why Kevin's content is hitting where it's hitting. It's getting over 500,000 views every single show. There is truth to what he's saying, whether we like it, believe it, accept it or not. There is truth to it. If we sit down and take the time to examine and be objective in what he's saying and take our feelings out of it and look at it from the intent, he's coming from the place where he's saying he wants to build back communities. That's where I'm coming from. And so far, I haven't seen anything that he has done contrary to that. If you want to argue about semantics, about how he speaks, his delivery, how he presents himself, his content, those are all ad hominem attacks. The content of what he's saying is what's important. Let's see how he deals with this interaction.
Desire to please, that may be there, but you're going to have an unhealthy expression of it because you attract predators. Even in a short period of time that we've been together, you said a lot of things that, given to the wrong person with bad intent, they can use it against you to get closer to you. That's not me. But what I'm saying is there's a way to be open and to tell people who you are without becoming vulnerable to them. And the way you don't become vulnerable to them is understand yourself. It's not for us to wrestle with God. It's for us to submit to the things that we have out here already. So even if you can't afford it, there are people who will sit back and give you most consultations with life coaches, but I actually would recommend an actual a psychiatrist, somebody who can diagnose depression, bipolar disorder, differences, somebody who can actually prescribe medication, even short term, like Prozac, Zoloft, antidepressants, because these things can tend to help even 30, 60, 90 days just to get you kind of level to where you can kind of see clear for the
feeling. And you talk about it through therapy.
Yes.
I don't need to know who you booked it with. I just need to know that you did it.
Okay.
You gonna do that?
Yes, I'll do that.
All right. I'm gonna hold you to that.
I'm a man of my word.
Sending her to a therapist.
All right, young lady. Good night.
Sending her to a therapist, someone like Umar Johnson. But Umar Johnson says he's a utopian, sorry, Bo Diddley put it in the chat. He said utopian therapist or coaching, right? Beta male. But he's sending them to the therapist. He's saying go to a therapist. Are we condemning that then? Is that what we're condemning? Going to the therapist to get healing from an appropriate professional? There was a video that we did with an actual psychiatrist who came on his show to Kevin's show and answered questions, and she was in a delusion herself. But Umar Johnson is a therapist. Kevin in this video is telling the woman to go to see a therapist. He's not saying he's the therapist. He can get you with the image. He can help you fix yourself, sort yourself out. You know, that's it. That's what he does. But he cannot give you therapy. You have to go and do that work. But we have someone like Umar Johnson, Derek Jackson saying, no, it's the toxic men. It's the toxic men. That's interesting. That's interesting. Let's see. Because black women have been going to therapists for years. That's my point there, Bo. The therapist that came onto Kevin Samuel's show was in the delusion herself. So these women who are going to these particular types of therapists are in it. They're not getting any better. Clearly. From what I see on the behavior, they're not getting any better. That means the therapists are either rubbish and not worth the money they're charging people for. People are supposed to be linking up with, see, this is the thing where in Africa we have the community raises a child. Because the community, when you have married couples, a married couple is a family coming together. That's what a marriage is. In the West is, well, I'm getting married and you're getting married and we come together and that's it. But in the way of we used to do it in the community, a marriage is between a family. That man comes from his family, she comes from her family, and they together start a new family. The reason why that was important is because it stopped fighting. It stopped wars. It stopped arguing between the families. Well, big arguments anyway, because you know families always have arguments, but big arguments that result in killing of tribes. But obviously, as you get bigger and bigger, you have arguments in different levels. But that was the purpose. Duty, raising of children, rearing of children, carrying on culture. There's not, everybody needs to get therapy if they need to get therapy. But the fact of the matter is, families is what come together in marriage. And in the Western construct, we don't have that. They don't promote that. But we're not supposed to be listening to that. We're supposed to be promoting that amongst us. Married couples who are successful in their marriage. My wife and I have been together. Oh, what are we going on now? We met in 2001. We officially, got together in 2005. It's 2021. So you say the best part of 15, 16 years we've been together. 17 years. We've helped 5, 6 couples get together and be married and have children. That's what we've done. That's what we've done. And we are willing to help and put that out there, but you have to be willing to do the work. We're not going to waste our time with people who don't understand the fundamentals of male and female roles. My wife, she's like, I'm tired of talking to these females because they don't understand what it takes to be a wife. What it takes to, and unfortunately, some of these men haven't been taught what it takes to be a husband. So yes, I do agree with Kellum when he made his earlier comment about married couples need to be given advice, but not all married couples need to be given advice, of course. Again, a caveat with that. It's funny you say that, Kellum. This is what I'm saying about having the dates memorized. Kellum says you got to know your anniversary dates. He says you need to tell my wife that, because in this case, on this occasion, I'm the one that's always remembering. Yeah, no, guys, definitely, I agree with that. Definitely remember your anniversary. Let me not get into it too much because I'd love to have my wife on here, you know what I'm saying? And we'll have the conversation because she and I'm going to get her to do some of these reviews as well so that you can hear her side of it as well and her take on it as well.
Number one thing he talks about is healing. And you talk about it through therapy because at the end of the day, like there's some serious psychological trauma on both sides of the party.
Yes. The black community coming out of slavery. Yeah. We were 80% married. We were the most married people through some of the worst times. Black laws, Jim Crow, slavery, segregation, all this other kind of stuff. We were married at a rate of 80%.
Every woman in the world, but we're talking about our queens. Every woman in the world needs a man who loves her without any interest of sexual intercourse. Listen to me well, black woman. In order for you to be healthy, you have to have a man you can go to and get emotional healing and support.
The black man provides more in a black home than just financial support.
Okay. Now, this is my favorite woman. I love this woman. I love this woman. I love this woman. Did you hear what Dr. Umar just said? This is what, big shout out to Mediocre Tutorial Reviews for putting this video together, because, I mean, there's certain things more I would have added into it, but you get the point, right? Shout out to Kellum Cash. He says, I have those dates and phone numbers memorized. Never know when you're going to need him. That's right. Combination to the safe and your anniversary. Definitely remember that. Big shout out to Lola. Blackmail TV family. But did you see what he said? So you have Kevin on one hand telling people, and I watch his shows. Before I give a critique about something, I try to learn about something before I give my 2 cents. I don't know everything. I'm not a genius. I'm just a man. But I have a critical understanding. I have a sovereign mind, and I can look at something and address and critically analyze it objectively. He's telling people to go to therapy. Umar's saying something else. That's what's going on. And Umar's the therapist. That's crazy to me. But let's see what our sister Shahrazad Ali says on the matter. Because you heard what Umar just said, right? Let me just take it back. You heard what Umar said, right? Let's see what Shahrazad Ali said.
And all this other kind of stuff. We were married at a rate of 80%.
Every woman in the world, but we're talking about our queens. Every woman in the world needs a man who loves her without any interest of sexual intercourse.
Oh my God. That's a lie. That's a lie. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand the mindset of what's going on in the satanic kingdom. This satanic kingdom is against men and women coming together because that's the image of the Most High. He's just said that a man should not have a sexual interest in a woman. So what is the purpose of reproduction again? It's not the sole purpose of a woman. Let's not be simple about this. Let's not be simple about this. Sex is not the sole purpose of a woman, but it is part of the purpose of a woman. No, building family, legacy, heritage. That's what that's about. But we live in a system where people are so debased and use so much low-level IQ that they don't want to see past the obvious. They just read things on the surface level and see things on the surface level, and then respond and get emotional on things on the surface level. Sex in itself is just an act. The connection is what's deeper. The physical act of sex is just sex. And in this kingdom, in this Western construct, they have over-sexualized the woman, over-sexualized the man, over-sexualized the child, to the point where sex in itself has been misconstrued and taken out of context. It's an act that brings forth children, but it's also an act, a physical act in which you share and express your expression of a feeling, which is love. It's not love in itself. It's it's a form of expressing it, because there are other methods of expressing love, which I just mentioned earlier: truth, honesty, integrity, accountability, caring, loyalty. There's so many different aspects to it. Bo says, I guess Umar's message went over your head. No, bro, it didn't go over my head. And I'm not a Kevin Samuels fan.
Listen to me well, black woman. In order for you to be healthy, you have to have a man you can go to and get emotional healing and support.
The black man provides more in a black
On that note, I agree with Umar Johnson.
home than just financial support. He provides direction, guidance, gratification, fulfillment, and discipline for our children.
Now, here's the kicker. Listen to what Shahrazad Ali said a man is for. This is a proper man. This is the type of man a woman should be looking for to have a relationship with. I'm not talking about a Pookie and a Ray Ray. I'm not talking about a, F-boy on the side of the street. We're talking about decent men. Now, here's the question. that everybody needs to ask ourselves. And this is why I say I hold the accountability to every generation, both male and female. Big shout out to Donnie Goes in the building. This is why I hold the candle to the accountability to every generation, because the women and men who want to talk about this relationship stuff, the older generation, did you raise these men that are able to be fathers, that are able to be husbands? Did you raise daughters that are able to be wives, that are able to be sisters? Because it's easy to sit over here and say, well, this person is talking BS and this person is talking BS, and I agree with this person and I agree with that person. But the work is about building the community. And before we are able to build the community, we must take accountability for each person's actions. We know what the black man has done. We know what the black man has been accountable for. Now we're in a time where the accountability is being swung to the black woman, and this is the conversation that's been taking place now. Because in order for both parties to come together to be able to heal, accountability must be taken on both sides. That's how healing works. That's how therapy works. And the one who has been wronged must apologize or humble themselves to the one that was wronged. That's what called being a grown-up is, and taking accountability for your actions is. That's what love is. But let's see what Shahrazad Ali says, because Umar just said a woman should go to a man for emotional support. He just said that. But a righteous man, a man of upstanding and good common sense, who was raised right. But here's my question. Where are the parents that raised these men? Where are the parents that raised these women? Because on one side, Kevin is saying the women are not marriageable, and on the other side, Dr. Umar is saying the men are not responsible. Well, who's responsible for that? Let's go on.
See, black men, we got to get our root chakras under control. The black man has to get his root chakra. Black men, the reason why some of us are so hypersexual.
No, you see that disingenuous again, the generalization of all black men. No, he's talking about those F-boys and Pookies and Ray Rays running around the street. He's not talking about those men that are working hard, that are studying university, that are getting degrees and are graduating and are trying to build themselves up and build their purpose. He's making you think again that, listen, I grew up hearing this over here in the West. When I went to America, I heard the same thing. When I went to the Caribbean, I heard the same thing. Oh, man, a dog. Oh, man, cheat. Oh, man, ain't ish. 3 different sides of the friggin' water, I'm hearing the same thing. So, and he's perpetuating that same thing again. Low-level intelligence and keeping you there. Why? To make merchandise of the people. That's how this works.
Is our root chakra is out of control. We have to get our root chakras under control if we really.
So it's the men's root chakras. That's the reason why these women are behaving. Look at what Shahrazad Ali just said.
Really want to serve the black sisterhood. I'm going to say it again. We got to get our root chakras under control so that we can be of better use to our women.
The good black woman has self-respect. She don't have to go out naked just to get the attention of a man.
Oh. That's not Kevin. That's Shahrazad Ali. That's Shahrazad Ali saying that? Is that what we are seeing? Is the men's root chakra the cause of this?
I have sisters all over the country, and they come up to me after the lectures, and they'll be talking to me, and they'll say, well, you know, all he think about is sex. All he think about is my body. I say, why don't you show him something else?
The way we are moving in the world.
Hold up, Mr. Uganda. Mr. Uganda says, where is the root chakra and why don't I know about it? Big shout out to Mr. Uganda for that. You know what, Mr. Uganda, you're gonna have to get a whip for that. That was hilarious. I give you that. That was funny, bro. That was funny. I appreciate that. He said, where is the root chakra for this? No one told me about it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, okay, let me play it, right? So you heard what Shahrazad said, right? Now let's listen to another elder. This is, I can never say her name right, so forgive me if I butcher it. Ileana Van Zant, right? I need to say that right. So let's see what she says. And this is another elder woman. You heard what Umar said, right? It's the men's chakras that's causing this behavior in women, right? So let's see if it's the chakras, right? You know, I told you about this Pan-Africanism stuff. They're pimp selling you some stuff, man. Listen, I had a dude. They used to tell sidebar. They used to tell women, listen, you got the Bartholin gland. You can self-reproduce. You don't need a man to reproduce. I'm like, bruh, show me that in history. Show it to me. You want to tell the Christians that they're talking nonsense, talking about Mary and Jesus, but then you telling black women that she can self-reproduce. If she can self-reproduce with that, biologically, I'm never going to get into that, man. XY chromosomes, X, I'm never going to get into it. But hey, anyway, Ileana Van Zandt, let's see what she says. Does she agree with Umar Johnson?
It's time for us to close our legs.
Let me take it back. Sorry. She said it's time for us to, Let's take it back. All right, cool.
Your legs. Open your heart.
It would be an affront to my spirit to dishonor another woman by betraying her confidence, sleeping with her man, not honoring my word to her, talking about her. I couldn't do it.
The reason why some of you beta males in the chat can't understand, overstand, and understand what I'm talking about is you have been mentored by beta males who have positioned the black woman as their enemy. You have been mentored by beta males who have raised you to believe the black woman.
I'm a bit confused. I thought these men were raised in fatherless households. So where did the beta males come from? What? Mr. Uganda says, I never got the point of people pushing. Oh, let me put it up. I never got the point of people pushing that self-reproducing rhetoric. Like, how is that relevant today when we need sperm and an egg to make a baby? Bro, I'm telling you, man. You got jokes today, man. You keeping us entertained, man. I like it. Keep them coming. So let's see what Umar has to say, right? You heard what Ileana Van Zandt said, right? She was talking about principles, standards, and morals, and this is what I'm talking about in LSG. She said, "I'm not gonna sleep with your man. I'm gonna be honest." Those are standards and morals and principles. So if those regulate your behavior, so if she's saying that as a psychiatrist and a therapist, I'm not sure if she's a psychiatrist, but a therapist, what is Umar talking about? Let's see.
Is your problem. I had a beta male say earlier, Dr. Umar, black women been in charge of the black community for 60 years. No, she hasn't. The white man, has been in charge of the black community for 400 years. The black woman is only a manager of the black community. And the only reason why she is a manager of the black community is because the war against black men, which is waged by the white man, is sending us to the prison and to the cemetery. So the black woman had to step in and assume that role. The black woman don't want to be the damn alpha male in your house. The black woman don't want to be going crazy raising your children. The black woman don't want to be crazy teaching her daughter about sex and dating and pregnancy and birth control and STDs. Do you really think the black woman wouldn't rather be doing something else? Do you really think she want to be working 2 and 3 jobs to get the bills paid because your ass is locked up or dead? And I'm not blaming you, black man. It's a war on us. But what I'm telling you, stop making the black woman the scapegoat for the white man. And if you feel that you have to make the black woman the scapegoat for the white man, then why don't you just be honest and say, listen, I'm scared of my oppressor.
We represent the missing link as black women. The black man has been dissected, examined, the white man, the white woman, and the black child. But it has been us as black women who have never been examined.
Let's just pause for that for a second. Umar said it's the white man Shahrazad Lee said, which I'm not saying I disagree with, because on that point where he said right there, they have their part to play, definitely. You see what I'm saying? But again, before we start complaining to Hitler about Hitler's gods, because, you know, let's start dealing with our own house first before we can start moving out, right? So what's the Shahrazad Ali say in response to that? Let me read the comment. You lot are cracking me up in the comments, man. Seriously. Donnie goes in, says, Mr. Uganda, Mr. Uganda, maybe if you understand and understand a little harder, you can use your root chakra to get it. Mr. Uganda's response was, let me find the root chakra first. Bruh, you need to get a map, boy. You know what I'm saying? Try to find that root chakra. So let's see what Shahrazad Ali says in what she said. What does she say?
We have been protected. We have been insulated. We have been kept from any kind of criticism about our personal behavior in the home and outside of the home. And we have been given the false compliment that we are the backbone of the Black nation. There is no doubt in any community in this country that the men in those communities are the backbone of their nations.
I hope you guys are hearing this. I'm going to have to take that back. Shahara just dropped some bombs. Remember, Umar said he's going to make a school for the sisterhood if they help support build his building. Then he's going to make a sisterhood meeting for them. I hope you noticed the Cash App, right? That's not my Cash App right there, right? That's not mine. The PayPal there, that's not mine. Yeah, I hope you noticed that, right? So that's what he's predicating. What is Shahrazad Ali saying? Let's look at the elder, right? Who's been married, right? Who's done the study, who's been around, who's seen the experience, who said this 20-something odd years ago. Actually, no, 1980-something. So we're talking about over 30 years ago. Almost 40 now. Let's hear what she says again.
Then why don't you just be...
Sorry, excuse me. I kind of jumped there. I want...
Protected. We have been insulated. We have been kept from any kind of criticism about our personal behavior in the home and outside of the home. And we have been given the false compliment that we are the backbone of the Black nation. There is no doubt in any community in this country that the men in those communities are the backbone of their nations. There is no...
And you need to understand this, family. We need to understand this very clearly. Let me just interject again. Because from where I grew up and how I grew up, I understood and I understand that men instill the moral standards and discipline and women transmit the culture. This is why you need both in the family structure. And this is why my family, we deal with LSG, love, support, growth. That's the family structure. That's the moral standards and discipline that is installed. Because it's a mindset and a behavior that comes with that. So if you build the men, if you build the men and focus on building the men, then you have a standard and a safe environment in a community that's conducive for women to flourish and for culture to predicate. That's what she's saying. Let's carry on. Let's hear some more of what she's saying.
Doubt in the white community that the white man is the backbone of his nation. The European, the Buddhist, the Korean, the Japanese, the Hispanic, all of those men are the backbones of their community, and there's no doubt about it. It is only in the Black community where those values have been transposed and where they put that burden on us and tell us that we are the backbone of the Black community, which is a direct insult to the Black man and implies that he don't have no backbone and that his women have to represent him.
Facts. Facts. And for any of you that don't understand or don't see where she's coming from, remember, read the book, The Making of a Slave. I was reading the audio book. I've got one section of the video up. I'm going to be reading another section again. It's a programming. It's a breakdown of social construct. It's something that's implied. It's a learned behavior. It's taught behavior. It's not part of our culture. This is why it's breaking down our family structure.
It's a heavy burden. It's one we are tired of carrying, and it is one that is not true. See, what has happened is that we have been turned, sisters, into kind of like Frankenstein. I think everybody remembers the Frankenstein monster. He had somebody's arms, somebody's legs. He even had somebody else's brain inside of his skull. Oh, he was functional, but he was not himself. And so, yes, we are functional. We have been taught that having a good job means that we are a total success. We have been taught that the solution to all the problems of the black people in America is to get a job with the white people. That's just not the truth. And that's certainly not saying that it is not important for us to have money for food, clothing, and shelter. And it's not saying that we as black women are not strong. I'm here today to represent some of that monumental strength we say we have. This does not mean that we are not strong. We don't have to put our man down in order to be strong. I'm just saying that we have used our strength in the wrong direction. We've been using it against our man instead of for him. If we use the kind of strength and influence that we have in this society to support the black man, won't anybody be able to come against him? But every man is judged by his...
And by default, sisters, nobody will be able to come against you. Because I need our brothers and sisters to remember something. And I always make this analogy and make this joke, right? Because a lot of sisters try to say, oh, we use the European standard of beauty. You need to understand that you were once the standard of beauty. If you don't believe me, you were once the European standard of beauty. Black women. You don't believe me? Go back and look at, I'll give you an example. Go back and look at your period dramas, right? We know we'll give you those Pride and Prejudice dramas, you know, those Downton Abbey dramas and stuff like that, where you see the woman strapped up in a corset with their bosom, chest all out, and then they've got a big bottom with their dress on, and it looks like they're like, what's going on? Are they trying to be black? Yeah, that's exactly what they were trying to do. The design and fashion, they were trying to imitate the figure and the physique of a black woman. Voluptuous breasts, bodacious backside, curvaceous hips, thick thighs. In order for them to imitate this, they had to make something called a corset and a garter that went around it to give them the impression of a big backside, and then the corset which would squeeze them in and push up their breasts to give them the impression of a big bosom to imitate black women. That was the fashion and the standard at that time. So when they come out and now have reverse psychology and say, well, feminist movement, we don't want to be dressed nice and look nice because that's the European standard of beauty, because their standard of beauty was taken from black women, from what they saw. Because contrary to popular belief, we used to rule at one point in time, especially in Europe, in case you didn't know. But yes, can you listen? Can you listen? You don't understand how precious and valuable you are, black woman, black man. But you're precious together, not separated. Together. Under a family, under a community. Listen, our whole stuff is jacked up, and we're gonna get into it. BLKMailTV, LSGLifestyle, we're gonna get into it. LSG marriage, LSD business, LSG lifestyle. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna talk about it. And if Lord's willing, we're going to show it, because it's time for a change. And it's time for those who want to stand for a change to be about it. Reach out, connect, let's start building. Those who are not, cool, let's still have the conversation, because there is a change coming. You're seeing it.
Woman, and if his woman say he ain't nothing, then the whole world believes he ain't nothing.
I just want you to hear what
if you're putting something
right
in the
just listen.
And so yes, we are functional. We have been taught that having a good job means that we are a total success. We have been taught that the solution to all the problems of the black people in America is to get a job with the white people. That's just not the truth. And that's certainly not saying that it is not important for us to have money for food, clothing, and shelter. And it's not saying that we as black women are not strong. I'm here today to represent some of that monumental strength we say we have. This does not mean that we are not strong. We don't have to put our man down in order to be strong. I'm just saying that we have used our strength in the wrong direction. We've been using it against our man instead of for him. If we use the kind of strength and influence.
Bo says, funny, the whole sounds like a mix between Umar and Kevin Samuels at the same time. He's remixing both of them in his message. Well, considering that my message of LSG love plus support equals growth was established well before Kevin Samuels or I ever knew about Kevin Samuels, I don't see how that would be the case. Although, like I said, I do agree with some of his viewpoints. Likewise, I do agree with some of the viewpoints of Umar Johnson. So, yeah, I guess it would be logical and rational to, you know, understand that some of the things I would agree with, you know, yeah. I don't think that's my message, though, because my message is strongly LSG, if you've been listening and following. But, you know, hey, let's continue.
That we have in this society to support the black man, won't anybody be able to come against him. But every man is judged by his woman, and if his woman say he ain't nothing, then the whole world believes he ain't nothing.
If you're putting yourself in the psychologist's chair right now, why are so many women offended by your content?
Well, one, because they don't listen to it. They come and see a black man in a suit with that background and everything else, and they're used to hearing mother, goddess, queen, the black woman is God, and they're not used to hearing such a direct message.
So that's that Umar Johnson thing again. So you see, it's coming in a different section of an interview now. So let's see what else he says here.
And the picture says one thing, but the message is another. And they automatically, the first time I say something, it's like, well, and they get triggered quickly. But if you listen to what I'm saying overall, I have women who will sit back and say, at first I got upset, but then I came back. I was getting my hair cut today, and a woman left me 8 comments about, I ain't gonna even pray for you. And I'm like, here's the thing. Let's go back to that 8th place trophy.
Yeah.
We have told women across the world, it doesn't matter what size you are, nobody can judge you, your body, your choice, your womb, your that. And this has been going on for a long time. Shahrazad Ali wrote a book in 89, 90, The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. Where she chronicled that everybody in this country, the black man included, have been put under a microscope and examined. But the only one in this country that has not had this kind of treatment is black women. And if you go back and look at some clips from
that wasn't Kevin Samuels that said that. That was Shahrazad Ali that said that. So people need to take it up with her if they've got an issue with it, right? Because she's been saying it, and she's been alive for a hell of a lot longer than most of us, including Kevin Samuels.
Donahue, Sally Jesse Raphael, anything from Shahrazad Ali, look it up and see what that sister was.
If you want to know what it is, I've got the audio book on the channel, so you can listen to it. Check it out on BLKMailTV on the master playlist or Night in Ocean playlist, and listen to Shahrazad Ali's audio book and listen to it for yourself.
Saying she was prophesizing what's happening right now. Black media right now, there is no black male media run by black men for black men. The best you have is Ebony Essence, Madame Noir, these things, and they have a large female base because women support. Women spend 73 cents out of every dollar. There's a media, there's an economic component to telling your market what they want to hear.
Thank you. And that right there, it's missed. Very often it's missed. But that's my issue with what's going on right there. The facts are in, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to be talking about it a bit more. But this is why I have this issue with us in the community adopting this mindset, because this mindset is removing the resource out of our community. 73 cents out of every dollar. You might as well call that 75% of every dollar is spent outside of our community. And then we wonder why we as a community are not rising. We as a community are not growing. We as a community are not having heritage, prosperity, and be en masse. En masse. I'm not talking about individuals in the community. Please stop bringing the exception to the rule and talking to it like it's a talking point. That's asinine, childish, and low IQ intelligence. En masse. 73 cents out of every dollar within the black community. I'm not talking about every other community. I'm talking about our community is spent out of our community. So it's great for the European. It's great for the Asian. It's great for the East Asian. It's great for the Arab. They need this mindset to continue in our community because they benefit from it. This is the point. Not only do they benefit from it, but it tears down our community and doesn't put us in the position to have a true fighting power, because resource comes from family.
Woman. Well, she chronicled that everybody in this country, the black man included, have been put under a microscope and examined. But the only one in this country that has not had this kind of treatment is black women. And if you go back and look at some clips from Oprah, Donahue, Sally Jesse Raphael, anything from Shahrazad Ali, look it up and see what that sister was saying. She was prophesizing what's happening right now. Black media right now, there is no black male media run by black men for black men. The best you have is Ebony Essence, Madame Noir, these things, and they have a large female base because women support. Women spend 73 cents out of every dollar. There's a media.
Okay, so Bo said, and I took it back, family, for a reason, because Bo said that's not what he said. Bo said he said 73 cents is spent by women in our community. That statement makes no sense to me, Bo. So I'm not quite sure why you said that. I took it back, and he did say 73 cents out of every dollar is spent by the women in our community. So you're incorrect about that. That's what Kevin said, and look up the stats.
Yeah, as an economic component to telling your market what they want to hear. However, the sobering statistic is 1 out of 4 black women won't marry. The sobering statistic is 80% of black women, 80% are overweight. When Spelman took away that complete college athletics because they noticed so many incoming freshmen were obese. So as an image consultant, I started this witness that
not a therapist, image consultant.
Men were getting all ready to go, and there's no women out there available for them. And I'm like, okay. And I'm starting to witness that when I'm working with women, I'm like, dear, you're 5'4", 260. There's nothing that really fits you. So I was realizing that I could tell men some truths and men would want to do something about it, but women, they would get upset. I wanted to refund it. I'm like, what's going on? Then I watched Rebecca Lynn Pope's video.
Which we showed earlier in the video. So if you haven't seen that video, you didn't see that segment, rewind the video and you can go see that segment where we showed Rebecca Lynn Pope's video. Again, big shout out to Mediocre Tutorial Reviews for doing the video. Great video.
And she gave the other side, and I was like, I see, I'm not crazy. So I started to kind of go a little bit further into this. What a lot of women object to is they're not used to being told the truth. Just the simple truth. It doesn't matter how nicely I try to word it. I think if you watch my broadcast, I struggle sometimes using all my corporate skills.
I be watching you. Like I'm trying to be tact with you.
I mean, I'm a well-schooled communicator, neuro-linguistic programming certified. I mean, I'm really trying, but at some point, how do you tell someone who is 40 years old, who is 260 pounds, 3 children by 2 different men, and who is objectively an average-looking woman, that high-value men earning this kind of money, don't see you? Now, a lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll tell women what they want to hear, and that works to make women feel good as a placebo. But if you're a personal trainer and tell people, hey man, eat what you want, do what you want, it's not going to help your client get any better shape. And again, women are recognizing after this beer bug, they look to the right, look to the left, there's no man there. They're saying these outcomes are not working. So a guy like myself is saying something different than everybody else and showing the outcomes. My show accidentally has saved marriages. I get emails weekly. You saved my marriage. Women have called into my show saying that I'm a better wife. I'm on my husband's team. My one lady left me flat-footed. She's like, my future generations owe their lives to you.
Wow. That's powerful. That's serious.
I'm like, huh? And because at the end of the day, it's about outcomes.
The thing, like, it's rare to get that kind of, appraise from them, because let's be honest, you're telling them the truth, the uncomfortable and unflattering realities. Hey, this is why you're single. You need to do this and do that.
Okay, so that's the end of the video. Do you see what I'm saying? So you've watched it. Let me know what you think. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm gonna put the stream in the chat. Please be respectful. If you're not respectful, I will lock you off. I do not take disrespect. I do not take back chat, and I do not take lies. So if you don't want to deal with observable reality, then that's on you. Your opinion is open. Your opinion is welcome, but rudeness and any of that nonsense will be locked off. I've put the chat into the conversation. You've watched the video. Let me know what your thoughts are on the video between Umar Johnson and Kevin Samuels and their responses to each other back and forth. I can play the first video again if people want that video to be played, but I don't know. You see what I'm saying? I think, it's kind of weird. You see what I'm saying? For me personally, that Umar Johnson will respond, because it wasn't that big a deal for him to respond to the fact that it's blown up to where it's blown up. You see what I'm saying? Kevin Samuels made a flippant comment on his platform. Yes, ideally it wasn't insulting, but at the same time, you see what I'm saying? He could have not made the comment, but I see why he did it. He could have not made the comment. But from looking back on it and being a bigger man, being a more responsible man, as from Umar Johnson's perspective, I would have looked at that. I don't know if he has, but I would have contacted Kevin myself, and I'm like, yo, bro, what's this? I hear you talking about me on your live, man. What's going on? Kevin would have explained himself or not. We don't know, because we're not there for the conversation. But ideally, the ideal situation would have been he would have called him. Kevin would have explained himself or apologized or whatever the case may be. They would have had a conversation. They would have laughed about it. And then that would have been the end of it. But he decided to, I'm going to add you to the stream in a second. But he decided to do a video, and now we see the blow up and the fallout of that. So, Bo, let me add you to the conversation. What's going on, bro? Hello.
Yeah. Let me just say, I understand certain points, right? Make sense, right? But at the same time, I don't really get this whole Kevin Samuels infatuation that I see on the internet, as if he's saying something so profound. I think most dudes that like got a father in their life or grew up around uncles and all that, like, we've heard this. So a lot of these issues that we like making seem as if he's saying something so profound, it's like I feel like he nitpicking at certain stuff that's like, I feel like the conversation is getting dumbed down a little bit. Like, I don't really see this whole. And Umar Johnson, if you listen to what Umar Johnson said, I don't see what he said wrong, to make it a Umar versus Kevin thing. Whereas what he said was absolutely correct. Whereas you got a lot of dudes that's buying into this whole YouTubian beta male type, and it's taking on like a cult-like following, where it's like this dude saying something gospel, and it's like, I'm not really seeing it.
It's interesting. It's interesting. You said quite a few things there. So let me ask you a couple of questions on the things that you said, right? So you said Kevin Samuels is not saying nothing that somebody who didn't have a father or uncles or, and let me put it this way, a male role figure, a positive male role figure around them wouldn't have already been taught, right?
In so many words. In so many words.
In so many words. Yeah, I'm just, compacting it, right? So my question to you then would be, do you feel that, not do you feel, I'm not even going there. Do you think from the observable experience of our community that there is more men that have a father figure in their life or not? And there's a reason why I asked the question that way.
Well, growing up where I grew up at, I say yeah.
That there's less or more father figures?
More.
More. Okay, cool. So then I would understand, because I understand your perspective coming from that.
And just to be clear, Kevin Samuels doesn't fit the image of the men and fathers that I grew up around and of the men around me.
Right. But Kevin Samuels didn't have his father around him, because he says he grew up a single parent, as a single parent household.
And I can tell.
Right. Okay. No, I can tell too, but that's what he says, and he makes no bones about it. But the reason why I asked the question is because, do you think that there's do you recognize the other side, that the majority of the men in the community are saying they didn't grow up with fathers around? That's the issue.
Repeat your question.
Like, do you recognize that because you recognize that you grew up with a father and male role models, right?
Right.
But do you recognize that on the other side, that there are a lot of men that didn't grow up with any male role model, to teach them the things that you're saying that Kevin Samuels is saying that should be basic?
Yeah, I reject that notion. What I think it is, I think social media has made it where people overlook the men and role models in their life that's around them and come on the internet and look to what they believe it should look like, and then they adopt these personalities and actors on the internet as their quote unquote father. So instead of your Kevin Samuels, even if you didn't have a father in the home, we all had an uncle or a grandfather or somebody around that could have filled that role. If not, then you had your teachers and football coaches, and where you could have got that game from.
That's interesting you say that. It's interesting you say that. I would love to hear from somebody from the other side. You see what I'm saying? Because I grew up around, men who said they didn't have any role models in their families. You see what I'm saying? And the way they were raised and their outcomes were very different to someone like yourself who had male role models around their life. But so are you saying, because it's not a notion, it's an observable reality. Are you saying that you don't see? Are you saying that everybody has a real role model in their life, some way, shape, or form, and it was their lack of utilizing that didn't benefit them? Or is that what you're saying?
You could is this by saying this, right? What I believe is that we living in a different time, right? It was different.
Hold up, say again, start again. You broke up, start again.
When I grew up, it was different. So we didn't have the option of coming online and just watching people and idolizing them for the most part, right? Outside of like athletes and stuff like that. And we idolize them for their skills. Now we live in a generation where people sit home, and you see the explosion during COVID where everybody's stuck in the house. People sit home and idolize people through the screen, right? So they're missing a chance. A lot of kids, and I feel like it's a lot of young dudes that fall into this whole manosphere red pill trap. They miss the opportunity to build those relationships with men on the streets who could serve as that, because instead they're sitting inside watching the screen. Okay. So what would you say is the reason behind that then? What would you say is that upbringing? Is that down to strictly social media? Is that it's the internet. It's just the age of the internet, the age of social media. Simple as that. Because there's many men out here that you can get advice from, whether it's your pastor at a church, your father, your uncles, or whatever, but instead you'll sit in a room. I mean, you probably got kids who have fathers in their life, but still idolize these people, and their father may be in the other room, but instead they cooped up in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then so that's a good point. So then what is the disconnect then? What would you say is the disconnect? Because
the disconnect is, I feel like a lot of these people don't really have real life experiences, and so they look to people on the internet and start idolizing them because they feel as though that's the depiction which they want. Like, for example, right? I've been watching Kevin Samuels, not like religiously, but he's been coming up on my feed, right, since before. And he isn't who he is today. Not by subscriber count, but period. Like when he first came out, he was just like a geeky, almost. I guess that's why the whole gay rumor came out. He was real effeminate. He's still kind of effeminate, but he was a square. Square is what, in my day and age, that's what we would call a beta male. Like it was nothing like solid really about him. But if you watch him, the evolution of him, he changed his image. He changed his target demographic. Now he's trying to play the whole debonair, suave, Billy D type, almost like a character. You know what I'm saying? And people, and he's an image consultant, so he understands marketing and advertising and how to sell yourself, right? And I believe people are buying into the image and the depiction which he's giving out, which to me, when I was growing up, that really wasn't what it was like. You know what I'm saying? And I don't really see the evidence to suggest that I should even be like I don't want to delve into that part of it as far as like whether he's a fraud or not. And if
we're not going. That's not the conversation, Fred. We'll keep it on the conversation here. Yeah,
but I'm just saying, like what he's saying to me is, I believe that he's creating a whole generation, or he's just in people to just be chatting a bunch of, you know what I'm saying? Because the average.
So hold on. Are you saying then what you're saying is that he's capitalizing on a current mindset in the community right now, that because of the internet?
Hold on, I'm gonna tell you what he's doing is he's capitalizing on suckers. He has a legion of devout suckers.
Hold on, would you call that beta males?
Beta males that can't get the chick they want, that get a rush out of seeing him talk down on women and talk to women how they wish they could. Kevin Samuels is doing what they wish they could, and they buy into that whole thing. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I see it.
That's interesting. The Mr. Uganda says, I've only watched one Kevin Samuels interview, and I agreed with him on that video. Those who really resonate with what he says and sees will be likely to watch him more often. Again, like I said, I do agree with Kevin Samuels on certain aspects because I see his overall going where he's going, if that's where he's going and he's been genuine to it. I haven't seen anything that says he's disingenuous to it yet, so I'm not going to put the cart before the horse. But with that same token and the same expression that we had the conversation, I would put to you the question. The same way you're saying the internet and these guys and, with he's capitalizing on them.
It works both ways.
Right, because I'm going to ask you that with Umar Johnson, right? So,
what I think is why he's so popular. He's kind of like the antithesis to your Chrissies and the black women who Paris Milans or whoever had their little thing on that side. So he's like the answer to that so now he's become the black man champion. So you had a lot of black dudes that was listening to like your Cynthia G's, the lady from the Pink Pill, the hypergamy type,
the Jessicas and that, yeah.
And so when he came out, he became like the force for them to take up for them against those chicks, and it created like this weird like little That's what I see it as.
I mean, because I was watching some of his stuff back in the day. Do you see what I'm saying? I should watch O'Shea Duke Jackson. Big shout out to him as well. Do you see what I'm saying? Great content creator. There's a few content creators that I've watched. Do you see what I'm saying? Over the past, while. And for me, Kevin Samuels did blow up in the pandemic. He has been doing this for quite a while, and his thing was more directed to the guys. So I do see what you're saying. I can see where that can be said. How for me personally, I'll be putting the cart before the horse if I stick to that, because he hasn't shown again. And I would put that in the sense of Umar Johnson, because he's been building this school from God knows when, and I still haven't seen the finished product of this school. I haven't even seen him put up the school properly yet. You see what I'm saying? To the level and the standard of what he's produced. Kevin Samuels, on the other hand, is now we have to see the product of what's going to come of this. Do you see what I'm saying? So I wouldn't put the cart before the horse just yet and say, well, it's all flashing,
I don't have a problem with him personally. Like I said, if you read my comment, what I said the whole Kevin Samuels movement.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about him personally. I'm talking about
Yeah,
that's why
I specifically said I didn't want to delve into like questioning who he
Yeah.
was or whatever, because I'm not really criticizing him. I'm questioning like the energy behind him more so, if that makes sense to you.
No, that makes sense. But this is what I'm talking about, and this is what I was saying. The intent. This is why I agree with him, because I don't. From what I've assessed, from what I've seen, from what I've heard of his commentary and his interactions, I haven't got the impression, and I haven't got the gut feeling that he's coming from a place of disingenuous or being negative. I haven't got that yet.
Oh, well, see, that's where we are deferred. But I guess we see different things. You know, people see different things.
Oh, yeah, of course, yes.
I see, in me understanding like that whole manosphere thing, I know that it's just a content strategy. And I know that it's like puppet masters behind the scenes that like kind of like orchestrate these conversations. And like, it's the whole YouTube, you know, I'm not going to say.
Okay, let me say this. I don't mean to cut you off, but let me say this. I would agree with you on that aspect with certain of those YouTubers within the manosphere. I definitely do agree with that. I see it for what it is. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not going to mention any names in particular, but there are certain people that I have seen, and there's certain issues going on right now. People being exposed as well for their fraudulent behaviors behind the scenes within the manosphere itself. I'll probably do another video on that itself, but I do understand what you're saying, and I do agree with that.
This is the caveat, though. See, I think Kevin Samuels is intelligent enough to, even though
stay away from that.
Exactly. To manage.
So hold on. As you said that, does that mean that he's in it, or does that mean that there's good intentions there?
No.
Because when you just said it though.
Yes. No. Yeah. Because this is interesting, and this is what I think is the brilliance behind Kevin Samuels, and why I respect him, and why I respect him for this point, because he sees what it's worth, right? But he also knows it's a vehicle that he could have used, but he's gonna stay away from certain things, away from certain people. But as far as the content strategy, he took from that and kind of like using it to propel him. And I believe it's people behind him that's hoping that he takes him with him. So they're gonna create the energy and they hope he take him with him, because he's the one with the brains. Because they know.
But it's okay. I agree with you on that. There is people behind him. He has said that though. He hasn't made no bones about it that there are people behind him. He has said that.
Right.
O'Shea Duke Jackson is one of those people, because they are friends. You see what I'm saying? O'Shea's been in the manosphere for a good 6, 7, almost 8 years.
That's where my problem comes in at. That's where the conflict comes in at. Because it's like I listen and I see what's going on, and I know the innocence behind the manosphere. Like I've sit there and I've listened.
Hold on, you're breaking up.
I say I've listened to it, and I know what it's about. Like that whole manosphere thing. Like it's not all about this whole black empowerment. It's like it's just a bunch of, and it's just
that's a sales pitch. Is that what you're saying?
This is my interpretation, and if I'm wrong, people don't agree with me. I just see the manosphere as a bunch of crybaby ass niggas, man. You know? I'm sorry.
Okay, go. Elaborate.
And that's the appeal of Kevin Samuels, and that's why I say he plays into it. When you see him kind of like a quote unquote destroy your black women, that riles them up, that get them up. That I told you, and it's like man, this some sucker shit. I don't want to be a part of this. And that's where I deviate from the Kevin Samuel. Like, man, because I see what's going on. I see who's paying you. Okay, because normally black women would be the one, but now you got the brothers who's spending money to see him do that. And I think he does it in such a good way. And this is the intelligence of him. He knows how to skirt the line in a way. So I salute him, and you know what I'm saying? But that's why I say it's the movement and the energy that I don't want to be associated when it comes to him. But him personally, I don't have a problem with.
No, I appreciate that, bro. That was good. I appreciate that, because that's given a different, because obviously there are people that are taking advantage. There are people that are jumping on for views, etc., trying to, make money out of it. And, that's expected, because that's the YouTube space. That's, that's the market. That's what's going on. But you've made a very interesting point in saying that, I mean,
And when you think about it, if we're talking about our community, how healthy is that for young brothers to be growing up in this where it's like, see, they thoughts, they this, they that. It's like, bro, chill out. You ain't even put enough work or got enough even talking like this. Cause I see a lot of dudes who use that whole high value, man. And it's like, bro, you ain't even got, and I could look at you and it's like, bro, you're not even in the position to even think you can even talk to a woman like that. Not a woman.
You see now. I agree with you there, but this is what I'm saying. And I'm gonna bring the conversation at some point.
Is it just that? Let me ask you.
Go ahead.
Do you see where it can be counterproductive if we're talking about unity and unifying our community with the women and all that? Because let's not be mistaken. I'm talking about, we talking about the data. Black women are doing better than black men if we going by the data, and that's just a fact.
That's the data. That's the data that is being challenged right now. This is the issue. From what I've seen, that's not correct. That's what I'm saying. From what I've seen, that's not correct. There is an agenda being pushed and a narrative that's being pushed outside of what's going on there. But to bring it back to what I wanted to say, right? Because
let me ask you this, and you stay outside of the U.S. When you come, if you ever been into any high school or any high school basketball game, any high school football game, who is out there spending money in the concession stands, taking them kids to school? You would think it would be the man, but it's not.
No,
it's the women who's toting a lot of this stuff. Just because you make six figures doesn't mean that you a bum. That don't mean you ain't got 3-4 baby mamas and you just out here, you ain't really standing up. Like, these dudes ain't really no stand-up dudes who like trying to manipulate this whole high value, man.
Yeah, no. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. We need to watch a bit more of his content because he explains what a high value man is, and it's not just with the money.
But it's not just about the money, though. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the character, though. The character.
No, that's what we're talking about. The character. He hasn't.
Okay.
I get what you're saying, right? Because Kevin is doing it at an entry level.
But it's still not about just that, though. But I'm saying, though, if we just look at the facts, if you drive around the black community and you see who is spending the money raising kids and putting in work with kids and all that, I mean, and I'm not going to get messy. We're not going to do this, but the paperwork from his child support just came out, and the difference between his wife and his income, monthly income and all that. So, but we're not going to go there with that. But
isn't his child 18?
We're not gonna go there with that. We're not gonna go get messy. We're not gonna get.
Yeah, we'll leave that one. We'll leave that one until there's more accurate information on it to talk about it.
We're not gonna. But if you just see what women doing, it's like you can't really compare. Like, you got some good dudes standing up. Like, I coached football before. You know what I'm saying? And when you out there with them kids, it's not even a question of who's really like supporting you. When we want to go to Disney World. It's gonna be the black women that's stepping up who gonna get that money up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
so we go.
This is it.
Send the kids to Disney World or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's not. I don't feel as though we.
So no, where are the men? Where are the men? That's the question. Those women that had those children, where are the men?
The
women that picked those men to have their children for. Where are the men that they picked?
But this is what I'm telling you though. And I'm not here to cap, right? I'm not really a capper, right? And there is a certain level of accountability, right? But what I'm saying is for a movement to have this type of energy behind it, right? That would mean that an overwhelming amount of men agree with it. But what I'm saying is within that group of men that's championing this, and oh yeah, brother, how many of them I don't believe that the majority of the group of dudes that's really championing this is even stand up like that, because the data show that it is. So everybody who got 2-3 baby mamas, you got two, it's like, bro, like, you gotta chill. You can't really be talking that reckless, you know.
No, but hold up. Okay, hold up. You see a dude that has 2-3 baby mamas by different women, is that classed as a man? Is that guy classed as a man?
You don't believe that these dudes out here in this whole different baby mamas and
say that again. You're breaking up. Say it again. Say it again.
Listen, what I'm saying is this just the crux of my argument, right? This whole pointing fingers at each other type of thing that's going on behind the whole Kevin Samuels thing. Black women do this, black men do that. Like, I'm not into none of the whole finger pointing, right? Because I see what's going on from both sides, right? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what we go wrong at.
No, I can hear that, man. I hear that, bro. Go ahead.
Because if we just being real about it, brothers ain't really doing too much to really be able to put themselves on no pedestal like that. You know what I'm saying? As a whole, collectively. You know what I'm saying? And then like the puppet masters behind the scene that we see that's way out in Yugoslavia and whatever. It's like, bro, you ain't even got no family, no kids or whatever. So it's like I just see it as whole is manipulating, and they creating this energy within our community that I feel like is just kind of productive.
Well, on that, I definitely agree with you on that one, bro. There's definitely counterproductive to our community. You know what I'm saying? And it's not conducive to our community. You get me? No, I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you coming in and speaking. You know what I'm saying? And sharing with us your thoughts and opinions on it. You know what I'm saying? Feel free to jump in next time, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's much love and it's much needed.
Yeah, man. Respect,
bro. We'll catch up. Big shout out to Bo, giving thanks for jumping in the conversation there. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to keep you guys for too long. I've been going for 2 hours. I'm not Mr. Uganda who can pull off a 10-hour live stream, because that bro has got some bars. Okay. I like my sleep. But no, big shout out to Mr. Uganda. Big shout out to Donnie Goes In. Big shout out to Royal Risings, House of Blooms, Lola Porter, PTO Enterprises. Jim Barrack was even in here. Sorry, Jim, I didn't even see your messages. Big shout out to Jim. Big shout out to My Rap Tribe and everybody else that was joining the conversation. I enjoyed it. You know what I'm saying? Keep a lookout, keep a thought out. You know what I'm saying? It was a good conversation. I thought it was a good conversation. Big shout out to Donnie Goes In. Yeah, there you go. He says a great conversation as well. We have to look at things from both sides, and I come from the point of accountability on both sides. So especially within our community, if we're looking at black community, black men take accountability, which we have been doing and are doing. Black women need to take accountability also, because there's going to be a disunity when it comes to making peace. Peace comes from a side of both being humble and both taking accountability for what they've done. And in order to do that, there must be a dialogue, there must be a conversation, it must be respectful. We cannot be using the sign language, shame, insults, guilt. They need to be right to have a conversation. We need to hear each other's sides. And if we are willing, if we are willing to do the work, if we are willing to build, if we say we want families, because that's ultimately what we are talking about. At LSG, we're talking about building family, building community. So if you want to be single and live that single life, then go ahead and do that. That's why I don't agree with some of these manosphere people who talk about being single for the rest of their life. That's asinine too, because human beings were not made to be single. We were made a social group. We're made to be with family. We're made to build. We're not made to be single. So I don't promote that single lifestyle forever and ever and ever. That's asinine. That's consumerism. They want you to be single so that they can make a merchandise of you, right? But if we're talking about families and building families, then we really need to take accountability of our behavior and instill new principles and values that are conducive to building healthy relationships, as well as conducive households that have structure, boundaries, discipline, men that instill moral standards and discipline, and women that transfer the cultural aspects within the moral standards and discipline framework over to the children. LSG, family. LSG. Love plus support equals growth. We're gonna get into some more about it. We're gonna get into more about it. Don't forget, guys, Nightly Notions is gonna be back on soon. Look out for the lives. You see what I'm saying? Make sure you're subscribed. Smash the like button. Big shout out to Royal Risings up in here. I'm gonna make you a moderator, sis. I'm gonna have to find out how to do it, because I don't know why it's not allowing me to do it with your. Actually, Royal Risings, while you're here, before I lock out, make sure to make your YouTube public. I think if you can, so I can try to do it. If anybody knows how to make her a moderator, leave a comment below or send us an email so I can figure out how to do it, because I've tried to do it and it's not worked. So if I'm doing something wrong, guys, let me know, because sister's been putting in the work. She's definitely been here, from the beginning, being loyal. And a big shout out to her and her family. You see what I'm saying? Much love to my sis. Big shout out to all the Black No TV family. Thanks for joining the conversation. Guys, I love and leave you, and I catch you later. Peace.